What's going on, people? Welcome to the morning show. Welcome to United View. How you doing? Happy Wednesday, 10th of April. Loads to talk about in today's show. Let's get logged in. Let's get calm. Let's get our coffees. Let's get our hot chocolates or cup of teas or breakfast or whatever it is that you have in the morning whilst you're listening to us. Or, like Owen with the black coffee, as always. Or just if you're on your commute in the car listening to us, if you're on the train, if you've got the day off, shout out if you've got the day off as well. Let us know. But also big up to everybody celebrating Eid as well. Hope you guys are gonna have a good day with your family and loved ones as well. So shout out to everybody celebrating Eid today. Big celebrations across the world for Eid, of course. So big up to everyone, people in the chat as well, also wishing their best to everyone celebrating Eid today. Gonna have a feast. I know I see Minna posting as well. Big up to her. And everybody else, like you said, going to have a massive, massive feast. Big up to Owen, says Stephanie Griffith. What else have we got? Love my black coffee too, says Bruno.
Yes.
Krista says, walking back from the gym, legs are wrecked. Oh, leg day. I ain't going to lie. They say you shouldn't skip leg day, but a lot of time when I'm in gym mode, which isn't now, obviously, when it does, I usually used to do it on a Friday. And sometimes I even go,
when I'm in it, me doing leg day is a sign that I'm really in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it is.
It's a big one.
One. But you do it. If you're consistent, then your legs won't be wrecked. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If
exactly.
It's only when you're not consistent, that's when you lead to the serious pains the next day and struggling to walk.
Yeah.
I remember once I was working in an office, Flex, and I had done leg day the night before, and I had to make strategic trips to the toilets because I had to stretch out my legs. Honestly, because I thought I was just going to get complete cramp and seize up on the floor.
Seize up.
So I'd have to go into the bathroom and do the hamstring stretch. And I thought, if someone walks in, I'm there doing I'm warming up.
It's true though, especially when you first start doing legs, the first week or two, there will be in bits. You got to start light.
Yeah.
Because even if you start light, it's just gonna just hurts, especially when you get older. 67 likes straight off the bat. 350 of you watching as everyone is entering the room. You guys know what it is. We get to 250 likes and then we go on from there as well. So big up to everybody in the chat. Loads to talk about this morning. Omar, Berrada, Jason Wilcox. They will be in post. It is upon them to take us forward in the summer. Dan Ashworth, update incoming. It's taking a little bit longer to get him, involved in what we're trying to do. But obviously, in the fallout from yesterday, there has been a lot on the summer transfer plans with Omar Berrada and one Jason Wilcox, who is yet to arrive, but is expected in the coming weeks.
Yes, indeed. This comes from Jamie Jackson. I'm not going to do the impression. Sometimes I do the Jamie.
Yeah.
The lean back, Eric. He's written for The Guardian saying that Omar Berrada and Jason Wilcox have been lined up to lead Manchester United's transfer market strategy this summer because Sir Jim Ratcliffe believes Dan Ashworth's arrival as the sporting director is still a while away. Ashworth has agreed to join from Newcastle to lead the football department, but compensation is yet to be determined, and it may be some months before he can replace John Murtough, who will leave United by the end of the week. Of course, that announcement came yesterday from Manchester United. Berrada, the incoming chief executive, is on gardening leave for Manchester City, but is set to start no later than the start of the closed season. United have approached Southampton to hire Wilcox as technical director, and Ratcliffe also expects him to be in place for the summer. It is understood that until Ashworth joins, Andy O'Boyle, the deputy football director, Matt Hargreaves, the director of player negotiations, David Harrison, director of football operations, and Nick Cox, the academy director, will fill any gaps in the football department, with Ratcliffe's key lieutenant, Sir Dave Brailsford, overseeing the reorganisation. Because there has been, Flex, I don't know if you've noticed this, there has been this... We're a funny lot, Manchester United fans, aren't we? We're a funny lot because we scream for change and we scream for these people to go. And then these people go and we find a problem. Immediately, we find a problem. And the problem that I've seen people talking about anyway is that this means we've got nobody. This means we've got nobody in place. The football department's empty. When you go into there right now, there's no one working. You know what I mean? And there's a big summer ahead. But this is, to me anyway, this is entirely normal and natural, and particularly at an executive level in anything, let alone football, which is if people are leaving and you're looking to bring people in, there is always this period where stuff doesn't overlap, and you have to get someone to bridge the gap. If you get someone that's a chief executive of any company and they're leaving, then 9 times out of 10 it has to be like an interim person put in place whilst the other person that you've already headhunted finishes up their job or completes their gardening leave, and it continues on and on and on. We talk about the best in class. The best in class usually is employed. And that means that, again,
exactly, with a good contract.
Exactly, that it can take a little bit longer. I think the positive in this is, one, that obviously John Murtough's going, and it makes, I mentioned this yesterday when I was discussing it, when the news just broke, it makes the articles from a few months ago of, John Murtough really wants to stick around.
Remember that? Exactly.
Yeah, I remember.
And we all said, mate, you can hope all you want.
Yeah, exactly. It's nonsense. So it makes that look quite funny. But I think that, one, that's a good thing that he's leaving. And two, according to Jamie Jackson anyway, it's not as if this new structure isn't going to be in place by the summer, because at least parts of it are, in Omar Berrada and hopefully Jason Wilcox. To be honest, the fact that Murtough's gone suggests to me that Wilcox is they're pretty confident. They're pretty confident that that's going to happen. So I think that's positive. I suppose the negative you could look at it is, well, you know, people plan for summer transfer windows years in advance. We don't have that luxury. But at the same time, as we have said numerous times here, in numerous conversations, that's why whenever you get these reports coming out going, well, to a lot of people around the club and day to day, it's business as usual, because they've still got to do their job and they've still got a plan. So those plans are still going to kind of be in place come the summer. But I don't see it as anything but good news. What say you?
Yeah, how could it not? How could it not? Like, within being ratified in, was it February? Was it February? It was February, isn't it?
February. It was agreed on Christmas Eve and then ratified February-ish, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, even since he's come in, all we're seeing is the sort of undoing of the old guard and the building of the new, which is what we expect. That's why when these things happen, it isn't like over celebrating as well. Like, oh my God, we got it's no. Like I said, I think I tweeted, like, yeah, good. Ineos moving on to the next. That's, you know, they're just undoing it all. Woodward was already gone. Richard Arnold had to go. There was rumors, you know, or reports, you know, Murtough would like to stay. Of course he would, but that was not going to happen. You know, short, sharp message or statement to say thank you for your services. Wish you the best in the future. And it's like, what more do people want by this stage? Like you said, the way of the world of work, like, there are real things called gardening. You can't just go and get somebody's chief exec. It's not like players. Like, essentially, these guys are more important than players. Like, these guys' roles and how you recruit for these types of roles isn't just you submit a bid, then that person says yes, and then the club says, right, you've paid the release clause, so see you later. It's not always as easy as that. With some sporting directors, maybe there is, and some, you know, stipulations in contracts that there can be.
Because that's what people are pointing out. They're saying Liverpool. They're using Liverpool as an example, and they're going, well, Liverpool, they're getting these new people in, and they've done it quickly. And you go, well, the person that they've got in was not employed at the time. That's worth pointing out. And as someone else, I think Richard Hughes, they're getting from Bournemouth, they agreed compensation with, so it got figured out. That's not always going to be the case. It's not always going to be the case.
It's not. And when it's not the case, it's like, it feels like when people are moaning that it's not quick enough or who we got, I just feel like you're just trying to pivot to just, I don't know, you just want it to be a bit negative, maybe. You want the next thing to moan about, because you can't moan about the, you know, and John Murtough's still here, and it's, you know, well, he's gone. He's gone, mate. So move on. Okay, well, Dan Ashworth's not here yet. What are we going to do? Well, Jason Wilcox is literally coming in right now. And I know Omar Berrada's, you know, is coming in, is pretty much here already. So, you know, what do you want? Newcastle to just not have these? We'd all love that. We'd all love Dan Ashworth to be here right now. But Flex, it's not how it works.
They should have been in 6 months ago. That's what it should be. Just a bit of an update on this, actually. So Samuel Luckhurst, he's just tweeted, and he's written a new article this morning saying that John Murtough was still heading up Manchester United's recruitment plans prior to his resignation last week. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe's new plan has emerged for the summer transfer window. Now, just on that first bit, Of course, he was still heading up Manchester United's recruitment plans until his resignation last week, because that was his job last week. Because again, you carry on, because you until you're told different, you continue on in your role.
Keep going, yeah.
But in the interim, they've said that Matt Hargreaves will take control of Manchester United's recruitment plans following the departure of John Murtough. Hargreaves, the director of player negotiations, was heavily involved in United's discussions for signings last summer, having effectively replaced Matt Judge, who left in 2022. There remains uncertainty over the long-term future of Hargreaves, as United plan to hire Dan Ashworth as their inaugural sporting director,
he's going to be gone
and Jason Wilcox as the technical director. And they talk about, obviously, Ashworth being on gardening leave, blah, 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 and the rest of it. But to be honest, actually, reading this, I'm going to be honest here, Flex. I think that's a bit naughty by Samuel Luckhurst, what he's trying to do there. Because when you read that, you get the impression of, see, Murtough's gone and they've just replaced him with someone else. Birds of a feather flock together and what have you. But in reality, that's just a different way of writing the same story as what we said 2 seconds ago, which is, whilst John Murtough isn't there because he's leaving at the end of the week, these people have to step in the interim. So as of right now, yes, Matt Hargreaves and the rest of the people that are there will be leading Manchester United.
He hasn't really written recruitment interim, plans. Has he? He hasn't really written in the meantime, basically.
Yeah, but of course that's what they're going to be doing, because as Jamie Jackson points out, when Omar Berrada and Jason Wilcox are officially in post, of course they're going to be leading the charge. Of course they're going to be doing it. But that's not officially confirmed as of right now, is it? With particularly with Jason Wilcox.
Yeah, he's written it as like, Matt Hargreaves will take control of Man United's recruitment plans following departure of John Murtough.
Yeah, because he leaves at the end of the week. But as of now, he would be leading the recruitment plans. But it's like,
But also, and like you said, he's leading it now for a couple of weeks until he will be leading it. Let's be honest, like under the strict guidance of, like, he's not going to be able to do anything and make any big choices or decisions, or he has to report to Ineos anyway. But Ineos aren't going to let him, do a big deal, or it's like, listen, we need someone in post for the next couple of weeks until Jason arrives. It's now your job, because again, it's a hierarchy. It's still a process of things. So the top guy's gone. Who's the guy below John Murtough? Okay, Matt Hargreaves. So now you're till you get sacked, or we give you a different role, maybe somewhere else. But you have to do it. That's how it goes.
Works. This is, if I leave United View, right, until you find someone who replaces me, you ask whoever, you go, I don't know, KG, can you, whilst Owen's
I wouldn't ask him.
Probably not. But you can, but you know what I mean? But that's how it works. We've all worked in those situations where you're working with someone, they leave, and then they ask you, whilst we figure out what's going on with this person, sometimes someone comes in straight away. Sometimes it doesn't, because of circumstances. Like, that's how the world works. So the worst thing would be if John Murtough left this week and then you get a report going, no, there's nobody's doing anything with recruitment, so I don't really know what's going on. Of course, someone has to pick that up. And what do they think? That even though Matt Hargreaves is going to be taking that up for the next few weeks, when Jason Wilcox and Emma Berrada come in, they're just going to be doing nothing. They'll go, no, you can keep doing it, Matt Hargreaves. I don't want to do what my job is. Like, and this is why also I say about the manager and Eric Ten Hag, because when those reports come out going, well, as of right now, Eric Ten Hag, he's still very much involved in the day-to-day and recruitment and the plans for for the summer, for the tour and what have you. Yeah, because as of right now, that's his job. So of course he's going to be fair, until it changes, you carry on going.
As you were, but also with Eric as well, which you're 100% right. That's exactly why it is what it is. You just carry on. But more so with Eric, there is still a chance he could stay. Like, there is. Yeah. There genuinely is. It's not like we're imminently waiting, like, when all the news is like, he's going to get sacked. We're not there. We're not, no matter what your opinion is, and I've lost my head after the Chelsea game and rip it all up and, calm down a bit after it. Like, no matter where we're at, there is nothing imminent of like, he's going to lose his job. There isn't. If anything, is it 50-50? Is it 60-40?
I think yesterday, when I was talking about the Murtough thing, I said, I think this will be used as the example for Eric Ten Hag, because remember those reports about John Murtough wanting to stay and wanting to stick around, and maybe he will stick around. When did they come out? Like 2 or 3 months ago? And at the time we went, Well, I suppose he might stay. I mean, we don't
He
know,
might,
but
yeah.
we don't
We just
know.
don't, it
And
keeps
and
changing.
they're like, well, as of today, you know, he's still doing his job. He's still involved in recruitment meetings because, again, like Samuel Lucas said in that article there, as of last week, John Murtough was still involved in recruitment discussions because he would be. He was the football director of Manchester United, of course. As of last week, he'd still be involved in recruitment discussions. Again, if I'm at my job and I know that I'm thinking of handing in my notice in a week's time. The week prior, I'm still going to be doing my job. So I'm still going to be involved in all of the meetings that regard my job. So, so of course, Erik ten Hag's still going to be doing everything that's going on right now. As of right now, his contract and his recruitment parameters are exactly the same from when he first started back in 2022. So nothing would have changed right now. Nothing would have changed right now. In a couple of weeks or in a couple of months, when these people are in and the actual proper fundamental discussions between Ten Hag and Ineos happen of like, okay, we're changing the structure here. You're going to have less say on recruitment, etc., etc. Yeah, then the role will change. But as of right now, nothing is different.
Erik, there's a couple of things. First, I would say Erik is also aware that change is incoming. Like they haven't not sat and spoke to Erik and said, listen,
absolutely,
we will, because, you know, a lot of the reports have said, and probably rightly so, he still had no assurances he is definitely going to be here next year. And he obviously hasn't been told he's been sacked. But like Erik said himself in the meetings he's had with Ineos, and he's probably had many more, you know, he said, you know, they have a vision. We want to work together on that vision. I see it. They see it. You know, good people. You know, all the stuff you're going to say about your new employees. I get that. It's in the media. But they won't just be sort of, you know, not telling Ten Hag anything. But also, they're also not going to tell Erik ten Hag quite a lot of other things. Because, you know, he's an employee. He's at the helm of the club, yes. But as it looks from the outside, are they undecided? We have to wait. We don't really know if they're undecided. We don't really truly know whether they know that they're going to sack him at the end of the season. They're just waiting. So they have spoke to Erik and said, we'll let you know soon. We haven't decided yet. But in their board meetings, they're like, we've decided. Or they genuinely are like, well, we have to really think about this. You know, sound out a few of the people. Are they available? Is it worth changing what we want to do? Strip the squad down a bit, his injuries, see how he gets on till Christmas. They could do that because there is a lot to change. And the second thing I would say is that we actually do need to talk about Omar Berrada and Jason Wilcox like being together for the summer, because what is becoming fairly clear, I'd say, unless there's a U-turn, is that Dan Ashworth is not going to be there in the summer. He's not. So what does this actually look like? How do Omar Berrada, Jason Wilcox, who would have only been there, you know, a couple of months by the time it happens. It's not moaning. It's actually looking at what the reality of the situation is. I think we should discuss that too.
Yeah. And well, particularly when it does come to the future of Ten Hag, by all accounts, this new this new football structure, rather, they're going to be the ones that are certainly recommending the decision that Ineos should take. Now, you could argue if they're not in quick enough, do they look at Erik and go, well, we just haven't been here and seen him.
Do it quicker.
So we want to give him the benefit of the doubt. So let's give him a bit more time. That could certainly happen. I think that I do, and I don't like to be that, it makes you think guy, because there's a lot of people that do nowadays the whole it makes you think, and it's just about nonsense. But what is curious, I will say, and many people have pointed this out, that if Ineos really were staunchly behind Erik ten Hag and wanted to keep him, why wouldn't they just come out and say it? Because there is certainly an absence of saying anything when it comes to that. And look, it's not as if Sir Jim Ratcliffe hasn't done interviews.
Very true.
He has. And he just keeps going, well, I don't really want to talk about it, but, you know, I think Eric's done. And I don't
they're leaving it open because they're like, I don't know yet.
And when you leave things, when you leave things open, people interpret it the way that they want to interpret it. So it does feel like, to your point, it feels like they're keeping their options open, which there's nothing wrong with that because the season's still to play out. We don't know how the season's going to finish up, how well we're going to do, what the circumstances are going to be, and things. My goodness me, Flex. Our reactions changing from game to game, let alone theirs. So there's still a lot to happen, it feels like, isn't there? Like you say, Jason Wilcox and Omar Berrada in. is that enough for Ineos to go, well, in an ideal world, we'd want to have Dan Ashworth then. You'd all make that decision, but we realize that Dan can't start until the start of 2025. So, okay, Omar and Jason, you make the call now and we'll decide what we want to do. I mean, as much as Dan Ashworth can't officially say it, I'm sure they could find out pretty quickly what his opinions are on certain things. You know what I mean? Cloak and dagger under midnight of like, what do you think of Eric? So, yeah, there's still a lot to happen, it feels like, isn't there? It's just the beginning.
A lot of moving parts, Bruno Rodriguez, first super chat of the day. Big up to you, Bruno. So can we talk about Arsenal fans crying in their car over the Saka pen for getting the Raya and Gabriel debacle? On another note, happy to see us moving. We will talk about Arsenal. We will talk about that a little bit later in the show because, you know, everybody was watching last night. What a night of Champions League football in both games, by the way. We've been waiting for the Champions League. I was looking at. I said to some of the boys in the house, "Come over to work." I was like, because one of my boys sports United, a couple of our Arsenal mates come over. I was like, to my boys sports United, I was like, "Look, mate, must be nice, isn't it? We are so far off competing at this level between even buying crap as well. But it's like they're still there competing at this level. Arsenal are doing it. Look, I mean, City and Real Madrid, there's no point even. It's just we're so far off. But anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. WJ Barrett says. That's right, Owen. Everyone getting the knickers in a twist. For me, we are way ahead of anything. I thought we would. I thought would happen. I'm excited. Yes, he's excited for what's around the corner. WJ Barrett also says Eric Ten Hag is gone. Murto was the last piece. Now Eric Ten Hag next. He's interesting. Bruno also says there isn't a clear replacement for Eric Ten Hag out there. Not one that screams massive upgrade. I think it's a massive reason why he's not gone as of yet. A lot of people have sort of said that. You know, who'd you get? Like, is there? And there's this sort of big, you know, and this is not to circle back to Ten Hag for no reason because the reports aren't talking about Ten Hag, but you know, someone's had a super chat.
Part of the conversation,
right? It's part of the conversation. Like we've said many times, this is a big summer for football. There's so many moving parts. You know, Barcelona, Liverpool, Bayern Munich. You never know with Chelsea. Are all in the hunt for managers, you know. Leverkusen it would have been, but now that's not the case. But you know, it's a big summer. There's Euros as well, you know. So it's like, and then not a lot of money was spent in January, and it's like everyone's saving for
everyone's
summer.
Saving up.
It's crazy. So there's two sides to that. That you know, there's nobody that screams an upgrade, and I get it because to me, if you say who do you want to spend? It is difficult. It is difficult.
Yeah, well,
but at the same time, if they decide they do want someone, they do have to move because there is this big merry-go-round going on.
Yeah, well, and also it must be stress, isn't it? There's nobody that screams an upgrade, maybe to us, not necessarily to Ineos, and or to Omar Berrada, or to Jason Wilcox, or to Sir Jim Ratcliffe.
But Spurs fans thought Ange Postecoglou was
exactly on Antonio Conte. And I mean, if you'd have said that a year ago,
guy from the Australian League.
Well,
from Celtic.
The guy from Celtic is an upgrade on Antonio Conte. You know, maybe the football purists who I remember talking to you before the start of the season, didn't I, about Ange Postecoglou. Said, "Oh, I watched a bit of Celtic. They play some really good stuff. If he can get that, you know." So football's a funny one in that sense, isn't it? So I do agree with Rodgers.
Brendan Rodgers did that with Celtic and played great stuff, and then
I do agree with the super chat in the sense of, well, again, it depends. People will perceive this differently because some people do look at the market. People do look at De Zerbi or Nagelsmann, and because they're not a fan of Ten Hag, will go, "Well, I think that is an upgrade."
It is upgrade.
It does depend on someone's perception of it, because there'll be I think there's probably a lot of people watching right now in the chat. They'll be like, "No, I don't think there is anyone that's better than Eric Ten Hag that we can get out there right now." But then there will be others that'll be like, "No, I think there are. I think there is, and that's why we should make that decision." So, and ultimately, and this is the concerning part of it, when you get those links about like Southgate, whatever, like my opinion on it doesn't matter. You know, it's those key people making the decision. I still say with the Gareth Southgate thing, he is a boogeyman, which is that people. I don't like the line of, if you question Eric Ten Hag's tactics, you are pro Gareth Southgate, and it means you want him in the dugout next season, because I think that's such a leap. And also those links to Gareth Southgate, whilst they might, he might have people that are pro him in Ineos or what have you. I do think that if they were to make that call or that decision of, right, we're going to go in a different direction to Erik ten Hag, I just can't for the life of me feel like they would be willing to take that bigger risk. When you look at the hires they've already made in Berrada, in Wilcox, in Ashworth, like these people with pretty stellar reputations in the game. And I know you could say, well, Gareth Southgate's got a stellar reputation from the media for what he's done for England, even though, again, I push back on why. When you're looking at coaching,
disgrace.
When you're looking at coaching and sort of if they'd have the conversation of what did you last do in club football, and you go, well, it was a while ago, and you go, oh, but you did big success, was it? No, it was. I got relegated by Middlesbrough. When was that? 15 years ago. I'm not really sure about that.
People change, people learn.
And also, again, the biggest links for that came during an international break, when people are talking about Gareth Southgate anyway. I think you have to put those things in it. And I just think that there's a lot of scaremongering going on at the moment with that of, be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for, because that means Gareth Southgate's going to be coming in. And I'm just like, well, I don't know.
Yeah. James Tucker from the Telegraph was saying, that sort of Ten Hag's future remains uncertain in his piece. He says Erik ten Hag's position at United as United manager remains shrewded, should I say, in uncertainty after deeply troubled season that has raised serious concerns about his ability and suitability, for the job. But the United manager has been included in the meetings around recruitment ahead of yet another critical summer, which is what we're saying. They haven't just decided. We just keep, I'll tell you what, we're having a meeting, Eric. You go off and have a coffee, yeah. We'll let you know later.
That is funny, isn't it? That is funny that people are using that as a clear sign that means he's definitely going to be here next season. When it's just business as usual. I don't think that says anything one way or the other. Of course, if he wasn't involved in those conversations, you'd be like, well, he's not going to be
that's
here.
What I'm saying.
But he never wouldn't. Like he never, like they just wouldn't do that. Like they wouldn't just shut him off from that, because again, that's his job as of right now. He wouldn't. Yeah. It wouldn't come out. Oh yeah, by the way, Eric, we want you to manage for the next 2 months of the season, but but we're just not going to get you involved in those things. Like Thomas Tuchel might not be involved in Bayern's recruitment plans for next summer because it's already been announced that he's leaving. So
it is actually nothing to do with him.
Exactly, yeah. But as of right now, nothing's changed of his status, his job. So of course he's going to be involved in all of those conversations.
Joe Blackman asks the biggest question of them all. He says, so ask yourselves this question: have I hit the like button? Joe Blackman, question. 100% right. We're over 1,000 people watching now. We've got 186 likes in the bag. We'd love to get to 250. I'm sure we can. I'm sure we will. So big up to everybody watching. Let's get to 250 likes. International with loads of numbers says few options: Nagelsmann, Inzaghi, Hansi Flick, Thomas Frank. Interesting. Thomas Frank. Don't know about that one, but yes, there are a few options out there. But it's do you stick or twist? But I think the big thing is how well will Omar Berrada and Jason Wilcox do heading up this summer themselves? And that will be, of course, as well. You have to remember, they're not just going to get in and like nothing's been sort of proposed to them. Omar Berrada will have an idea of what's been going on, what sort of audit has taken place. He will know.
100-day plan.
Sir Jim, yep, exactly. Sir Jim, Dave Brailsford and Jean-Claude Blanc, they will have made their own sort of assertions as to what needs to happen. Now, this is why I like what they're doing, because, Jean-Claude Blanc, there was talks that he could be the new CEO, just because he's sort of the CEO of, or
he's director
at Ineos, director of operations.
He's like CEO of sport or something like that, isn't he? I think
he's got quite a high title at Ineos, which could have been, if they were not going to do this best in class and get the right people, really could have been, I tell you what, let's just make that transferable into Man United. It's part of the Ineos group now. Yeah. But they went, no, we need to go and find who actually is the best person to do that. It's not you, Jean. It's not you. Fair enough. Put your ego aside. Sir Dave Brailsford and even Sir Jim Ratcliffe, again, it's not like they're trying to invest into Man United and then give themself mates jobs or jobs.
No, it's not doing the top bowling of buy-in. I'm going to make myself director of, or football
exactly. Because Sir Jim Ratcliffe could have done that. He could have said, look, I've bought this off the Glazers. Don't worry, Joel. because they're not going to give a shit, are they? Don't worry, Joe. I'll just leave it to me. I'll be judge during execution. I'll sort this mess out. No, he's gone. No, I'm the billionaire. I need to kick back and get the people who know what they're doing. Now, yes, they are going after some people that somewhat have links with each other. Sort of Omar Berrada, Dan Ashworth got a bit of the FA, and Brighton.
Jason Wilcox used to be at
Jason
City.
Wilcox used to be at City. So there's a common theme, and there is like a bit of a British thing going on as well with Wilcox and Dan Ashworth. But when you look at Berrada, he's going to the top of the food chain. So you can't just say, oh, they're just trying to go all British and label that on them. No, they're just getting the people who are really well sought after and highly thought of in their jobs. Dan Ashworth is definitely that. Jason Wilcox is definitely that. And Omar Berrada definitely is that, with what he's been involved in the last sort of 10 to 15 years between Man City and Barcelona. It doesn't come much bigger than that in the last 10, 15 years of football, does it? Ultimate success. So I like the fact that when we're looking at this, it hasn't been just lip service. Of course, people say, oh, Man United fans are getting too gassed by this Ineos thing, or us, even our own fans are like, listen, I'm not getting excited until I see what they do. They ain't bought anyone in yet. Like, no, it's all good putting them in post. And an element of that is absolutely right. Like, you have to see how they move players on, who they sell, what sorts of players we're looking for. But also, it's going to take quite a few windows. It's not going to all happen in one window.
And it's important not to shift the goalpost too much when it comes to that. And this is what I was kind of touching on earlier, because we do this quite a lot. We ask for something, and then we get the sort of starting stages of it. Oh, this club's never going to go anywhere until Richard Arnold, the likes of Richard Arnold, John Murtough are gone. Right, they're gone. It's going to take a little while to make sure everything's in place. And then we go, well, I'm not really sure until this happens. These things will happen. But as you said, those things are going to take time. And to your point, what I do like, and I do think is right and fair to Eric as well, fair to Ten Hag, is that a decision shouldn't be made on his future until everyone's in place, or at least the majority of them are, because they're going to be the people that Eric Ten Hag would be reporting to. They're going to be the people that, again, are going to be making that decision. So when it comes to Ten Hag, they can't make a decision on his future right now because those people aren't in place to make the decision yet. So they're right not to be jumping too far ahead when it comes to it. If they tomorrow announce, oh, Eric Ten Hag's leaving at the end of the season, you'd go, well, who's made that decision? Who's made that call? It's important to make sure that these things are done step by step by step by step. So that's the important thing. And, now Murtough's gone. You would think naturally once Wilcox and Berrada do start, the next natural conversation would be the manager. Then you move on to players. Then you move on to whatever. And it's not, like you said, it's not blind faith. Like, I'm saying this because I know Ineos are going to get it all right. I don't think they're going to get it all right. It's inevitable. There will be mistakes that are made. But when you see some of the things that they have done so far, look, our bar is very, very low when it comes to these kind of things. So if there is change and the people that are being brought in have a strong football pedigree, when we ask about the stadium, this needs to be fixed. There's a task force that's been put in place, and it feels like, doesn't it? The inevitable thing is they're going to build a new one adjacent to Old Trafford, and they're going to downscale it. So we've got the best of both worlds there. We keep an Old Trafford, and it looks like we're going to be building something else. This is all in the case of a couple of months. That's not too bad, is it? That's not too bad. And again, that's not like blind faith. Oh, so they're great. I mean, suddenly you're really, really.
They're the saviour. We're back.
Yeah, no, I'm.
They're in bed with the Glazers, though. What are you doing?
I'm pro change. I'm pro things happening. I'm pro, different from what we were doing before. And obviously, actions will speak louder than words. But there is this kind of like weird thing of you're not allowed to be happy. You're not allowed to be happy with some element of change. You've always got to pick the bones out of it. There's a lot to unpick at Manchester United. My goodness me. And and it's only a couple of months. We're only in the early stages. The more appropriate time to be having that conversation really about how good has the change been will be in like a year's time. We'll be in 6 months' time, realistically, won't it as well? And I think, like you said, with those that will be like, I can't support them because they allowed the Glazers to stay. Then we have to go back to the whole strategic review of alternatives process. And you go, did the Glazers ever want to leave in the first place? Probably not. Who knows actually what Qatar did or didn't offer? Because
they wanted They wanted someone to come in and take.
You've got SEC filings that say they didn't offer certain amounts. You've then got Qatar going back with legal threats going, we did offer it. But either way, the reality is Glazers didn't want it. did they?
No,
Clearly,
they
clearly
didn't.
they
And
didn't want it.
they wanted to stay
They
in a
wanted
large
this.
part of Man United. Yeah, this is what they wanted. And they did play a blinder, not to take it back too far, because it is about moving forward now. But I think we all got over that fact that you just said there, and like we've all sort of established that the Glazers didn't want to sell the whole football club. If they did, they would have. And they wanted to remain sort of in post, sell a put. Basically, they were looking for investment because the club needed investment to go to the next level. And they went, well, we're not doing it. We're not going to put what? So someone's coming to us that, well, what you guys have done in the last sort of 17 years of being at the club, you've kind of run it into the ground now, Joel. So their financial advisor saying you've got two options. You either sell a part of it to get it going again so you can still stay, or you sell it, or you put your money in your own pocket and stay as you are and rejuvenate it all. Or you just sell it all. You get rid of it all and just go off into the sunset. Okay, well, no, I'd still like to very much. I quite like having the title as a Manchester United majority owner, actually. So I'll keep that. We'll sell off a little portion of it, and they can sort of bring in, get working on a new stadium, do all the football side of it, let them front it up, and put their money in. That's it.
Yeah, well, and again, that's when you go back to Qatar, isn't it? And you say whether or not they did or they didn't offer, because at the moment that is legitimately disputed legally. But if you were looking at Qatar, you go, why didn't you just blow them out the water then? Why didn't you just give them an astronomical amount of money that they couldn't say no to?
Because also they're also saying, well, we're still not going to get rents. Like, they're taking a piss. It's still not worth 10 billion.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Come on. Like,
exactly.
We've offered them a fair and out.
And again, it's happened now. Like, I know we can dwell on it, but it's happened. So I like I said, I look at these changes that have happened thus far, and they appear to be on the face certainly positive, don't they, when it comes to these new appointments in the stadium? And obviously, time will tell. But I don't think. Again, it's this constant stick to be hit with, isn't it? Of you go, well, that's John. So, for instance, yesterday, John Murtoe stepping down as a football director, and you get Man United fans go, good. This is good news. And the initial reaction is, so right, you think Ineos are going to fix everything then, do you? Where's your blind faith from? You go, I'm just talking about this news. I'm happy about this news. I can be happy about this news.
How can you not be happy?
Happiness away from me immediately.
I'll tell you what. How about this for news then? John Murtoe set to stay on under new Ineos regime. What would people say?
Oh, the freak out flex. The freak out.
Honestly, we're not changing anything. What's the point? Same old club. Knew it. In bed with the Glazers. This, that, and the other. Then you do change it and you change things pretty quickly, but you just have to be patient in terms of when people actually arrive. And people want to move on to the next thing that to moan about. Just always searching for it. I just don't get it. Optimist says that this kamikaze football all season 5 Elroy has been pushed more since Ineos came in. I don't know what that means, 5 Elroy. Do you know what that means?
I don't know. Is it something to do with?
Is it a character? Is that?
I don't know.
Is there a character called Elroy, or he looks like him, or I don't know. Let us know, Optimus. But thank you for the super chat. Michael says, "Big up Flex and Owen. I think as a fan base, we need to be patient and trust what Ineos are trying to build." And that's just it there in a nutshell, isn't it? Like, Kleenex says, "Don't be naive, Flex. It's a British thing. See what players we will buy. All Premier League and all British passport players." Well, I don't know how you can say that, Kleenex. We don't know.
We don't know. We
How
don't
do you know that?
Yeah.
And big up to yourself, Kleenex. Fair enough, that is your opinion. I just want to know what you're basing that on. How do you know that? Who said to you that we're going to buy all British players? See what players we will buy. Yeah, I'll see. I'll wait and see. Like, how have you made your mind up, bro? I don't get it. All Premier League players. And even if we did buy some all Premier League players, if they were for the right price, why would that be a bad thing?
And also, I think maybe because it comes from, his initial thing of like putting the Manchester back in Manchester United. So people, I think, are thinking that. But our new chief executive is replacing an English one, by the way, is Spanish. So already, that seems a pretty big jump, doesn't it, from where we're going? Like, okay, let's cool. And when it comes to they're looking at Dan Ashworth and Jason Wilcox. Okay, yeah, they're English, but they're also very good at what they do. They've got a very good reputation. Did it matter that they were English did it matter when Jason Wilcox was English when he was the academy director at Manchester City? Oh, it didn't matter then. It didn't. That didn't matter at all. Didn't matter what Dan Ashworth's nationality was when people were lauding him at Brighton and then going over to Newcastle. It didn't matter then. The person who's on our board of directors as well, Jean-Claude Blanc, he's French. So what are we talking about? And like you said, when it comes to the players, we shall see what happens when it comes to players. Maybe we will get Premier League players. Maybe we will get English players. I would say, though, at the moment, I don't mind getting English players, considering it's the best England squad I think I've ever known in my lifetime. It's not as if all the English players are shit. It's not like it's 2012 or something.
There's a good pool of players to pick from that are English. So if we are going to be in for bloody, some of the top English talent,
Arsenal signed Declan Rice for over 100 million, and people can say, English tax, rah, rah, rah. No one's talking about that anymore because it worked. Like nationalities and prices, it doesn't matter if you're successful. It doesn't. That's just the cold, hard facts of it, isn't it? So we shall see when it comes to it. Maybe this summer they do buy all Premier League players and they're all English. Maybe that's what they do. But if it made us win the league, I wouldn't care. Really, it doesn't. It's about who's the best. Who's the best for their job? Exactly.
I don't care if our team ended up having 9 English players in it, if they were the right ones. I don't care. I don't care if they were all Brazilian or if there was only... there wasn't an Italian player in there, or there was 6. I don't care. Just get whoever is good.
It was all right, when for Fergie's teams in the 90s, when they bring through the class of 92, and we had an English core to the team.
A lot of English players in.
Worked out pretty well. It didn't it? Yeah. It's about having who's the best.
Over 1,100 people watching, 266 likes. So we've gone past the 250, which is, we were always going to do that. Come on, guys. The UV community, it's always going to happen. We were always going to get over 1,000 people watching live as well. Big up to you guys. Let's get up to 1,200 people watching live. Same as yesterday. That's like the base level. If we can go higher, great. Let's get sharing. Drop it in your group chats. Drop it into your friends. Share the video. Let them know that we are live. And let's get the likes up to as high as possible. I mean, we always like to say 500 might be a bit of a stretch, but why not? Just aim for it. Just aim for it. Do you know what I'm saying? So if you just miss it, you're still happy with the outcome. So we're at 280 now. I'm sure we'll get over 300 and go from there. Last bit of the show, I think, we can't not talk about last night's action in the Champions League. Some all-time classics. Good games, good entertainment. As a neutral, looking at it, weren't really neutral. I was supporting Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. I had teams. A lot going on there.
Arsenal fans are something else, aren't they? Arsenal fans are something else because I saw last night's. It's gone. It's gone. Wow, I've been abandoned. With Arsenal last night, It's funny how they move the goalposts, isn't it, folks? They move the goalposts so much because their whole talk after the game is we were robbed. We should have had a penalty. The penalty was ours. Saka got fouled in the box. I can't believe the referee did that. Shocking. We were robbed. And then after the game, you realize actually Bayern should have had a penalty. Bayern should have actually. Bayern's penalty is way more of a penalty than the Arsenal one, by the way. They don't want to talk about that. Wow, I don't really. It'd be very harsh on Gabriel. How would it be harsh on Gabriel? He picked up the ball in the box. How is it that a penalty? As far as Saka's one, I think the referee got it spot on. I really do. In that Neuer comes rushing out. Of course, Saka gets to the ball first. But then what does he do? He initiates contact. He dangles his leg out to Manuel Neuer.
Absolute disgrace. Cheats.
It was, to be honest, it was similar to the Harvey Elliott one at the weekend, whereby the person comes out, they're there, and he sticks his leg out and he initiates contact. It was the right call. But that's not even the bigger controversy for me. The biggest controversy, again, is that handball. That is, honestly, for all of this talk this season about writing to governing bodies, about referees, that is a writable offence. Go right to UEFA, Bayern Munich, because you have been absolutely robbed there, because there's no way out of it. There is no way out of it. The referee stands there, he puts his hand up, he blows his whistle. David Raya passes the ball to Gabriel, so the ball is in play, and Gabriel just picks it up. He picks it up, and the Bayern players sit around going, he just picked the ball up. That's handball. And Thomas Tuchel after the game says, I asked the referee, but that's a penalty. And the referee's response is, well, it's an embarrassing mistake. It's a schoolboy error. It's the Champions League quarterfinal. I don't really want to do that in the Champions League quarterfinal. And you're going, so right, referees now are saying that because of certain games and the importance of certain games, they're going to overlook fundamental basic errors. Lapses of concentration don't count in Champions League games. That is a madness. And if I was Bayern Munich, particularly after what the referee had said to me after the game, I would write to UEFA, I would write to FIFA and go, this referee can't referee football matches, big football matches, because apparently he is the judge, jury, and executioner when it comes to rewriting football law. That is a madness.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And you know what? When you're watching it in real time, because sometimes you can't hear the whistle or commentaries talking, so you didn't really realize it when it actually happened. I didn't. Weren't until they looked back. I was like, why should Bayern have had a penalty? What's happened? When they replayed it, I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't believe my eyes. And that sort of response from the referee, that's so alarming. That is so alarming. You're basically saying that the rules don't matter at this level. I'm going to pick and choose which rules I apply just because it's embarrassing on a player. We see the same sort of thing with throw-ins. Like a lot of foul throws don't get given. It's sort of like even in the Prem, like it happens. There was a couple of foul throws last night actually, and it's like there's this sort of thing that's like they're professional footballers. Can't really be pulling them up for. It's like in NBA. Let's not give traveling. Let's not give a double. If an NBA player touches it with two hands, bounces the ball with two hands. Let's not give a double dribble because it's they shouldn't really. And sometimes a lot of travels, even in NBA. You watch it, like sometimes you go, oh, that's a bit of a travel, but they just don't really get given because they're like so basic and it's at like grassroots level. You're like, we're not going to do it. But I'm just like, I do not get how that's not a penalty. And as for the Saka one, like, it's just, I just don't get it. Like, why Arsenal fans think they're robbed. I just do not get it. Like, he literally can go around the keeper and pass it into an empty net. He literally can. But in that moment, he's made a decision to sort of, he's anticipating that Neuer's going to come out and make a swipe, so he's sort of made sure that he could, I'm going to make my legs stay here because I know he's going to come and swipe, but the swipe never comes. Neuer's fantastic in that situation, which he's done twice. I was saying to Owen, like, still such a world-class goalkeeper. The Ben White one, where Ben White should score either left or right of him, what's really good about what Neuer does is that he just looks at the ball. He looks at the ball. If that's someone like Onana or another type of goalkeeper, even Rayo, whoever, they're going to dive. They're going to guess. And the fact he stays on his feet and just looks at the ball, and if he would have shot to the left or right of him, then he would have reacted. That was great goalkeeping. And also to come out in that situation, but just come out, not have a trailing leg or come out do something silly. He's in control of his emotions. It just comes out, makes himself big. So Saka has a decision to make: either run round me and score, which he chose not to do, or I'm not making a challenge here. So if you run into me and try play for that penalty, you ain't sucking me in, mate. I've been a top level keeper for like 20 years. Like, not going to happen.
He panics, Saka. He panics because he's through on goal and he sees Neuer coming out, to your point. So in his mind, you have to make the decision, all right, what am I going to do? Am I going to go around him, or am I going to let him come into me and get a penalty? He's decided, I'm going to let him come into me, I'm going to get a penalty. But the moment that Neuer stops and doesn't come into me, he thinks,
he reads it.
Shit, what have I got to do? So you see, his leg is so far out. It's like that. As people have pointed out, they're like, it's that out like that. So it's, again,
trying to initiate the contact. And contact that never came. And, and an attempt to play the ball from Neuer, which never came. He just stood his ground.
Exactly. And then this is when you have to be careful with like VAR and freeze frames and what have you, because there are a lot of Arsenal fans that are putting the freeze frame of Saka's leg on Neuer and going, how is that not a penalty? You can see the contact. You go, well, it's not about the contact. How did the contact happen? What about the context? And this is where you have to be really careful with freeze frames and taking the complete context out of these instances, because if you just looked at the picture of Saka's leg against Neuer's leg, you go, well, that's clearly a penalty because there's clear contact. But when you actually watch it happen, you see, as we've said, Neuer comes out, Saka comes here, Neuer stops, Saka kicks his leg and goes down. So it's not a penalty. And then, and this is I guess this is just the truth of Arsenal, which is that actually go, that's not even the most egregious penalty like decision of the game because one, that was correct, and two, Bayern should have absolutely had a second penalty. And then their response is, well, I don't really want to talk about that. Oh, wow, you're referee.
Ridiculous.
And to the point where they're trying to even justify the Saka penalty not being given because of that one not being given in the first place. They go,
yeah, the ref's trying to even it out.
He's trying to even it out. No, he got one right. He got one wrong. That's the difference. It isn't evening out. He got one right. He got one wrong. Yeah. That's the difference.
They are sort of the only thing Bayern could have been lucky for in this day and age. They're saying, the Harry Kane elbow swing on Gabriel gets a yellow card for that. Yeah. I think that there probably wasn't enough of a swing, but if we're being honest, Harry Kane knows what he's doing there, and I would say
he's done it.
He does it all the time, and he has a look. He has a look first. Harry Kane knows what he's doing there. He is lucky not to get sent off. Absolutely, I think that's a red card. I think
he's very fortunate in that case. And look, maybe the referee does the same thing with that Harry Kane one that he did with the Bayern penalty, where he goes, I just don't want to send someone off, in a quarterfinal. I wouldn't be shocked when it comes to that. And that's when we're saying, like, no, the rules are the rules. If you don't follow them, then you then it should be the punishment for it. What I will say about Harry Kane, though, is, and I'll bring it up every single time here, because I had this conversation so many times here over the summer when we were linked with Harry Kane or blah, 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 to those people that were trying to justify in the summer that we shouldn't get Harry Kane because either he wasn't good or he was too old or there was no resale value. I will never forgive you guys for it. Never, ever, ever. Okay? One, I suppose, look, were we ever going to get him? Probably not. Spurs were never going to sell to Manchester United. So I understand that. But some of the weird justification for why Manchester United shouldn't have got Harry Kane in the summer, park the whole they weren't going to sell to us aside, like, oh, he's not actually that good. He's too old. Oh, what's our resale value going to be on Harry Kane? Do you think Bayern Munich were talking about resale value when they bought Harry Kane? No, they bought him to score goals. And I get that it hasn't worked out for him in the Bundesliga this season in terms of winning the league. But I don't think that's on Harry Kane, is it? The guy scored over 30 goals. He scored again last night. That's what he does. Like, he scores goals. He is dangerous. And not only, if anything, it puts him down to an extent to say that he just scores goals, because he doesn't. His range of passing, Flex, is outrageous. There was one pass in the game where the only way he could hit, who was it? It might have been Gnabry. I'm not sure. But like the only way he can hit him is like bending it around like two players or whatever. Yeah. But that was the instep went out to Gnabry. Yeah, it's crazy. He is outrageous. And getting back to the whole Brexit FC English player bias. No, Harry Kane is the best number 9 in the world, and I think maybe we're a bit uncomfortable saying
the most complete
because he's English. Yeah. I think we're uncomfortable saying it because he's English.
And because Haaland scores millions of goals. But as you can see, again, Henri was talking about Haaland. Again, no touches, don't know what to do when he's not getting fed opportunities to score. Now, don't get me wrong, Haaland's still a lot younger. So it's like at 22, he's got a lot to learn. Can he get better at those things? But for me, big game players do not go, months and years and weeks, basically, without touching the ball in joking terms. But, without impacting the game. Like, you do what Harry Kane does. You go searching, you go finding it. You know what I'm saying? You find a way to be impactful in the game. And, Rio said it after the game. It's not easy to make Saliba and Gabriel uncomfortable. It's not. They've been the best partnership probably in Europe, or one of the best two in Europe, along with probably Leverkusen's two. But, they've been absolutely fantastic week in, week out in the Premier League against people like Haaland, gobbling up pretty much every attacker they play against. But Harry Kane found a way, like I said, to make them feel uncomfortable, dragging them to places they want to go. He's up for the fight. If you want to play back to goal, he might get dominated sometimes and headers won against him, but he'll also find a way to back in, make it uncomfortable, get on the half turn, win fouls, play balls in behind to runners around him, which is what you need if you're going to have Harry Kane. And then when it comes to clutch moments, taking pens, absolutely took the piss out of David Raya. Absolutely took the piss out of David Raya. And David Raya, by the way, for all the plaudits that he's had from the move up from Ramsdale, I tell you what, now the level of scrutiny is getting higher because the stakes are higher. We're seeing a few question marks there because I don't know what he's doing. He's just so eager to play. Like, I don't know what he's doing, basically, right behind Gabriel there. He makes Gabriel not be able to play the first pass because he's just what are you doing there? Why is he
he's
there?
not. For me. I mean, again, I'm not convinced by him at all. I'm really not. I think that
he's calmer than Ramsdale.
And he's better on the ball because a couple of times in the game they're playing out from the back, and they do play out nice from the back because David Raya is good with his feet.
Yeah.
But as a goalkeeper, he is not all that. I'm telling you, because he always. It is this sort of weird, I guess, modern football thing, isn't it? That goalkeepers aren't very good as goalkeepers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it is. And then when it comes to matches like last night, you feel like big time matches. It's when those goalkeepers that aren't great fundamental goalkeepers tend to get exposed, because in those kind of matches, you need your goalkeepers to kind of come up clutch and make big saves, and they tend not to do it. So I think when you watch games like big matches or whatever, that's when you see like why people like, you mentioned Neuer, or why people like Alisson, why they are the best in the world, because not only are they obviously calm and playing out from the back, but they make big saves. And I do think that Arsenal's defense is so good that maybe it's kind of protecting David Raya's deficiencies a little bit, as it should. That's how football works. But I'm not convinced by him. But if you had to predict, Flex, who in those Champions League ties, who's going through next week, both of them?
It's really difficult, isn't it? I would definitely say advantage Bayern now. For them to go there, not lose. No fans as well. Packed out Allianz. Arsenal will give them a good game, though. I don't think they get rolled over. I think Arsenal will lose 2-1 on the night.
And the City
Arsenal
one?
Lose 2-1. I think City will deal with them at Etihad. What a game, by the way.
Yeah.
What a game.
The goals.
Amazing goals. Jesus Christ.
Foden's goals outrageous. You know, Gavardio.
Valverde's one's amazing as well.
Yeah, volley. Brilliant game.
Yeah. But the same thing will probably happen. Like Rudiger will be on it like he was with bloody Haaland, and he dropped him he done the same thing Don Carlo made a mistake last year, because he done the same thing in the first leg last year, and then they got to the Etihad, he didn't play him. I don't think he'll do that again. No. So he'll definitely play. But I don't know. Real Madrid don't keep the ball very well. It's very transition. Like obviously they can hurt City and get chances, especially if Kyle Walker's not back yet. So they will get chances at the Etihad, but I just think at their place, their fans at home.
You could argue maybe this time around. I mean, I know they don't have like the striker in like Benzema that they had before, but they do have. It maybe feels like maybe more clutch players this season. Real Madrid,
when you add in Jude Bellingham and another year of development for Vinny, and you look at Rodrigo doing what he's doing. It's true, but I don't know.
I agree with the prediction. I think Bayern will do it, because I feel like I was actually, to be fair, I was very impressed by how Bayern handled it. They played in a full Arsenal stadium of Arsenal fans.
Yeah.
And they did very well. And I do think that Allianz will be bouncing, because it's all they've got to fight for this season, because the Bundesliga's gone. So I feel like Bayern will edge it. I think it'll be close, but I think Bayern will edge it. And then I agree with you. I don't think City will do what they did to Madrid last year at the Etihad, because that was crazy. And you do feel like you can get at City more this year, don't you? You can get at them a bit more this year.
Yeah.
So maybe that will happen. But I still think they'll probably just go through. And as we said earlier on, I hope one day to be involved in those kind of things, because the Champions League, when it gets to this stage, was it quarterfinals, final 8? It's different, isn't it? It is different. The best teams are playing the best teams. Big matches. People are watching them. Big ramifications. People analyzing them the morning after, and we just haven't been involved for so long. Someone tweeted it, and I sent it to you, Flex, isn't it? Being a Manchester United fan means come April, you turn into a Real Madrid fan. Basically. 100%. And it's so true, because come April, it means you're hoping Real Madrid beat Man City or Liverpool in recent years. Like, that's how it works. that is how it works. So one day we'll be back, folks. One day.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be back, but we're miles off that. Miles off competing. In Champions League quarterfinals against the big guns. We're so far off it, and that did hurt. But there you go. Have we got any more super chats before the end? Yes, big up to Ken. Says if we're playing against if we were playing against Real Madrid last night, it would have been a cricket score. We're miles off. Absolutely agree. Smash a like on the video, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. What have we got next? Well, if there's any breaking news throughout the rest of the day, we shall let you know. Probably a Flex's View later on today. Tomorrow, obviously, Morning View. We've got previews going out. We've got What the Devil podcast, all in the lead up to the next match day against Bournemouth as well. So much to come. Take care, guys. See you soon. Peace.